Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. So welcome to the fourth episode of the BECBC Shadow Board's COVID-19 podcast. Today it's Rhianna and myself, joined by four of our members. In particular today, the episode is different because we've actually got four members that have created two partnerships. So they've sort of paired up during lockdown and created a sort of new offering, which is really quite exciting to see. And that's all what the business list is about, collaboration at the end of the day, really. So it'd be great to hear a bit more. Just before we go around the room, we have got Jutta Devenish of Zeitgeist Communications. We've got Dick Monaghan from Delkia. We've got Kirsten Prosser from Financial Insights, and we've got James Miller from PWHytek. So to explain more about your individual companies, we'll go around. So starting with Jutta, if you'd like to explain a bit more about what Zeitgeist is.
Yeah, sure. So Zeitgeist Communication, what we do is we basically help businesses grow through clear marketing, PR, and business strategies. In addition, I, as a consultant, am also an MBA lecturer for senior development programs at the University of Cumbria. So it's all about strategy, essentially.
Fantastic. And Dick?
Well, Delkia are a small to medium enterprise based in Egremont in Cumbria, which is less than 2 miles from the Sellafield site, who's one of our principal clients. We operate in the nuclear and defence markets. But first and foremost, we are a systems integrator. That is, we put stuff together for our clients, pretty much in the electrical discipline. So to complement that, we do design and build of electrical control panels. And we take that together for system integration activities. And it's not just the hardware supply either. There's a software offer in that. So the software will normally reside on PLC, it's like programmable logic controller, or SCADA systems may have heard of. These are supervisory control and data acquisition systems. A particular focus for us is functional safety, and our designers are competent functional safety practitioners, and that's a key differentiator, because if clients want panel build and they want to build to print, and the panel is going to deliver a safety function, to keep in compliance with standards, you have to have functional safety practitioners. Our key clients have been historically Sellafield and BAE Systems, but we're looking to expand, and perhaps we'll talk more on that later. And we tend to operate direct at tier 2 in a small way with clients like Sellafield and BAE, but more traditionally tier 3 level. And in addition to our design and build offer, we also offer resource augmentation for clients that are capacity constrained by taking on packages of work or providing services to them that alleviates that capacity pinch that they have.
Thanks, Dick. And Kirsten, how was things with you before lockdown, and what services were you offering?
Yeah, so in terms of our services, it's around providing robust informed decision support, so helping businesses to make decisions, so around business cases for investment, around financial economic appraisal, economic modelling, strategic options appraisal, provide some bid support work as well, and then business and scenario planning too. So a wide range of clients working for NDA estate primarily, but also wider than that, working for overseas businesses looking to bid into the estate, SMEs too. So quite a wide range of clients, non-nuclear, nuclear, very much project-based work. So working from one assignment to another with some smaller piece of work in the background. So that was the kind of model up until now.
Brilliant. And James, lastly?
Yeah, we're a design for manufacture company based in Manchester. So sort of similar to Dick's company in a way, but from a mechanical engineering perspective, really. So we offer sort of full life cycle engineering services from the concept through to manufacture. And we work within the nuclear sector and within aerospace and defence. And we also have a manufacturing site in Burnley, which is a security-enabled large site, and we're working on some MOD contracts from there.
That's fantastic. So just a very, very quick one then, actually. So just sort of going around each of you again, how were things in terms of like, how busy were you before lockdown came around? So sort of like in the last sort of half year or so before that. I mean, starting with you, James, as you're here, how was work going?
Well, it was going well, really well until COVID, and it's still going okay, by the way. But yeah, it was quite. We were growing. We grew basically been established for 5 years, and we've doubled in size every year. A large proportion of what we did was within aerospace. So as you can imagine, that's taken a significant hit. But fortunately, the nuclear work we've been doing has been relatively steady. So yeah, it's definitely had an effect.
Great stuff. And then Kirsten?
Yeah, so I was very busy leading up to COVID, had quite a pipeline of work going forwards, quite a bit within the non-nuclear sector as well and outside of Cumbria, so that was good. Still very busy now, but there's been a period in between where it's been a bit tricky. Initially where obviously 23rd of March, pieces of work that were postponed, so we had to get our heads around how we actually rethink the business model and other ways of doing things differently. So that led to our collaboration, which we can talk about later.
Sure, yeah. And Dick, I was actually at the official opening for the new Delkia offices back in, I think, February time. So that, obviously things were on the up for you, which I'm sure they'll return. But how were things? How was that sort of change of offices going for you?
It's going very well, but fortunately for us, as you just said, that we did have that relocation to new premises. And then, of course, we're about to kick off with refurbishment of some of the new facilities that we'd taken on. And when COVID struck, that it sort of put everything into stalemate, if you like. And overnight, we did see a significant drop off of customer engagement. So before COVID, our customer engagement was ripe, and it just stopped overnight because the physical reality of that just disappeared overnight. But the relocation to the new premise was very fortunate for us because were very lean, and we'd invested in new IT, cloud-based technology, Teams and stuff, and we were immediately able to implement home working for 75% of staff, and yet keep key staff and key workers and key projects going from our premises at Sellafield, at Egremont for Sellafield. So it almost fit the size of entity that we were. If it would have been any larger, it would have been difficult. We didn't have to furlough any staff. But so it was a very strange period for us. We didn't have to furlough, we kept going, and we've adopted new technology. And people like myself participating in things like this, I wouldn't have thought was going to happen. But I've become quite adaptive to even utilizing Zoom and Teams and stuff like that. So yeah, it's been quite interesting.
Very good, thanks, Dick. And then lastly, Jutta, I'm sure we'll now sort of move this conversation on to the kind of how was things affected, but just going back to that sort of pre-COVID time, Jutta, what sort of things were you working on? How was the sort of pipeline looking?
Yeah, so we had a pretty busy pipeline across various sectors. So it was very, very busy. And to be honest, when lockdown came, although it was a bit of a shock, for a few days I was quite relieved just to have a bit of a breather, because sometimes when you run a business, there's not enough time to kind of think about where you're going. So from that perspective, I kind of enjoyed that moment. And then we had a few clients who paused. So when clients pause a contract, that's good for them. That's not good for us. But they've all essentially come back, which is great. And now I think we're quite a bit busier than we were even before the lockdown, which is all good news. But I found also with some of our clients that they had to get up and ready quite quickly as soon as the announcement was made that shops are coming back and businesses are coming back. They went from lockdown mode to doubling up their efforts. So yeah. So it's busy.
Well, so Kirsten and Dick have sort of touched on it a little bit, but we just want to go into see what your individual companies, what the initial challenges were at sort of March, April time, and also what you've done to combat some of those challenges. So I'll start with James this time.
I mean, the challenges were, I guess, ensuring that there was enough work for the teams to continue working, basically, and doing that remotely. Certainly, some of the nuclear work obviously has security constraints, so we had to be careful and manage that, and then stop some work in some cases as well. So that was a big period of adapting and understanding really what we needed to do to be sort of compliant and working correctly. So there was that. But really, because we're a design business predominantly, a lot of it could and can be done remotely and from home. So we basically gave everybody, if they had sort of desktop computers, they took them all home and so on. So and then, yeah, we've adapted using video conferencing like everybody else, and we've spent a lot of time speaking to existing clients, new clients, forming partnerships. So we tried, as Jutta said, we tried to take this time to think more strategically, really, and take try and make something, a positive out of a negative situation, I guess, really.
Yeah, brill. And Kirsten, have you got anything to add about the changes in your actual company? Any furlough or anything like that?
Yeah, so it was an opportunity, really, a catalyst to actually look at working more with SMEs. So it's something I've done some of, but I saw there was an opportunity to offer some of the work that I've been doing around the corporate level tools that we use in bigger businesses to actually offer that and open it up to SMEs. And I think that's probably underutilised at the moment within that area. So, and also obviously with the COVID situation, particularly around people rethinking their businesses, looking strategically at how they're going to move forwards, their business model, their strategic planning, scenario planning, all of those things and skills that I have. I thought there was a possibility to offer that to the wider market. So I was thinking about that anyway, and then obviously Jutta had conversations with Jutta, having met at BC meetings a number of times. And we realised that actually we have quite compatible skills, but diverse skills that we can bring together to offer to SMEs. So that's where our collaboration kind of came from. In terms of remote working, I was already working remotely and bringing in other partners that I work with on different contracts. So that kind of way of working is quite normal to me. But I have actually utilised some new tools through doing that. So running workshops that we would actually normally do face-to-face, I've been doing those remotely using different tools that are out there, and found that we can actually do this really effectively, not necessarily have to do everything face-to-face when we're doing bigger group meetings. So that's been quite informative for me. And I think on the collaboration side of things, it's really not only opened up doors into the SME side of things, but it's also allowed us to bring that diversity of thinking and have somebody to bounce ideas off and run ideas past. So that's been really beneficial to me working with Jutta.
Brill. Jutta, is that sort of similar to Kirsten? And obviously you've got this new partnership going on. Have you found yourself in the same sort of boat, or is there something slightly different in your individual company?
Yeah, I mean, it's very similar. So I think maybe just with regard to only Zeitgeist, so one of the things we did is that we brought something that was part of our vision going forward. We basically brought it closer to now, which was to offer online training. So during lockdown, basically moved the entire website over to another platform, and then just introduced a few digital tools that we hadn't really thought about before. It wasn't quite on the horizon yet. So it was sort of bringing things forward that we were hoping to achieve. So from that perspective, that was a change on our end. And then with regard to collaboration, just really seeing an opportunity there. I think, to do something, I think at some point, we're hearing a lot about collaboration, and I'm sitting at the edge of my seat thinking, okay, well, let's do something to help people and to help businesses. And Kirsten and I got into conversation, and we said, you know what, if we bring our skills together, that could really be a very helpful offer maybe to some of the companies. And also we realized that some structures are in place through, you can get funding, etc., but it takes a long time. So if you need some help to restructure, sometimes you have to apply and it takes forever. So we wanted to offer something that people can access now. And that's really where we got chatting. And that's, I think one of the things that Kirsten touched on was, by working together, we are picking up new skills. So collaboration is also about sharpening your own sword. So I'm learning from her, I think she's learning from me. So together we're really sharpening our own business skills, which is in itself is really fun to do, to be honest.
That's great. It's great to see all these like bonds and partnerships forming in such a tough year. So it is great that positive things are coming out. Dick and James, is that sort of similar to you guys? Because obviously you formed this partnership during lockdown as well.
Yeah, Dick, do you want to answer?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think it's a great example, our collaboration with PWHytek. And I doubt without the pandemic that we would have had the bandwidth nor the inclination to consider the alignment, frankly. And it was the fact that we had that space and we were able to look at things, and we realized that, you know, we need to do something. And by joining with another SME that was out of the area but still closely aligned to a key nuclear centre in Warrington, and that we had complementary skill sets, we could immediately access each other's markets without competing, could come together, provide a larger package of offer, which is what we actually perceive that our tier 2 and tier 1 operators really want, but often don't say. They want to see size and capacity. So coming together, and just as Kirsten and Jutta have explained, the opportunity to learn, and we have learned. So yeah, it was a really strange outcome for us from the pandemic, that we wouldn't necessarily stop to think about, should we go and partner with anybody in the sense of the word of really collaborating.
And James, would you agree with that same side of things? That, you know,
Yeah.
You're out of county in terms of out of Cumbria, but obviously you'll be familiar with it. But is it nice to have that kind of that link with obviously such a massive, you know, site that is Sellafield and the partners?
Yeah, no, it definitely is. It's we looked at opening an office ourselves in Cumbria. We're probably not big enough to do that yet, so it did give us that, you know, strategic footprint in the area. And yeah, it just, I think, obviously the whole world was in a state of crisis, you know, 2 months, still is now, but obviously 3 months ago particularly the case. So it was quite comforting, really, to speak to other companies and have that connection when obviously you're isolated, and sort of talk through some challenges and some opportunities, really. So it was it served a very positive purpose all around, really.
Brilliant. And just staying with you, James, while we're here, so moving it forward to the here and now, are you guys back in the office, or are you still at home? And sort of how are things looking as we go forward for the rest of the year, really?
Yeah, I mean, we're still really working from home, because for the most part, I mean, there are some people doing some office work, but basically the company has said, you know, come back when you feel it's safe. They've put obviously procedures and plans and methods in place basically to ensure that it is safe, but yeah, there's no pressure for us to do that necessarily. So we're continuing on and working from home, but I mean, we'll see how it goes, you know, in the coming months, whether we go back in fully or not, really. But we did very nearly sign like a really large office for about 120 people, and it was kicking around for ages, whether we were going to do it or not, and it was sort of getting to the point where it was a little bit frustrating that action wasn't happening. But now we're quite relieved that didn't happen, because we wouldn't really have anybody to put in it. So we would have some people, but you know, it's not 120 people, that's for sure.
No. And Kirsten, how do you find sort of going forward? Are things looking like they're coming back to some sort of normal? Are your clients returning more to work?
Yeah, there seems to be quite a flurry of activity now in the last probably 6 weeks. I've had lots of inquiries. Yeah, people wanting me to work for them. I've actually had to turn a couple of pieces of work away, which is never the position you want to be in, but that, you know, I'm very busy at the moment, which is great. And, you know, I can see that being the case over the next few months at least. But yeah, working remotely has been the norm, definitely.
Fantastic. And that's obviously by yourself, but also with the new partnerships, you've got kind of two angles to come from. So Jutta, so back over to you then. Again, you obviously got that partnership as well, but you've obviously got your existing work. Are you finding the same, that over the last sort of 4 to 6 weeks, people have started, you know, coming out of their burrows, they're getting back into the world?
They are. I mean, we do a lot of remote working anyway, so from that perspective, it's not so different. However, best business is done face to face. So, you know, we are seeing some clients ready to meet face to face again, which is great. But I can say already that, you know, as part of our business model going forward, we would see continue to doing Zoom as a way of engaging with the clients, saving them some time, saving us some time as well, and then maybe combining that with meeting face to face. So I don't see Zoom as something that was just a COVID season.
Sure. And Dick, it appears that you're still at home working in the home office. Is that going to continue for many months, or have you got any plans to return back to the office itself?
I haven't got any plans personally to return back to the office, and I would say that's true for 75% of our staff. We've adopted this as the new normal. It did have challenges. We had to put Cyber Essentials Plus in place. We had to do ISO 27001 because of the point that James alluded to earlier, our work in nuclear and defence. You've got to then put the security arrangements in place to support that. With the lockdown situation, we were fortunate to gain a very large contract with one of our clients I've already mentioned. And coming out of lockdown, we're seeing the pipeline released for future tender opportunities. So we have seen an uptick in opportunities, but it's engaging on them, and we expect to engage them more from remote working than we have in the past. And we see that as actually a big thing. We don't necessarily have to be constrained to have everybody in an office. We can now recruit and have a design practitioner. It could be the other end of the UK. Doesn't necessarily have to be adjacent to us. And so that's a new normal for us now. I mean, there was a chap on yesterday, I think it was Alex Walsh from Sellafield, was saying the same thing for Sellafield. It's giving them an opportunity to even increase diversity in their workplace, because new people can now engage and work that previously were barred through geography and flexibility arrangements.
That's actually very interesting, actually, that on the one hand, you've got that massive positive of working from home gives you, yes, that increase in diversity. But as you just mentioned there, I've actually not heard this before, you're talking about the issues and the sort of constraints on home offices in terms of having security accredited premises and systems. So that must be a challenge, actually, for quite a lot of people that are dealing with, nuclear work or defence work, of course, as well. I mean, how have you managed to get around those? Anyone can sort of chip in here. How have you managed to get around that?
Well, it's more specifically about the data, and everything has to be encrypted, everything has to be two-factor authenticated. So we've gone to the highest level of security that's provided by Microsoft, E5. So we've put in place secure functions for data that we are able to share on home networks, but still doesn't get round from the fact that you also have to have physical premises and isolated networks. But we're also able to do that. I mean, since you were at our premises in February this year, we've actually doubled in size. We've taken on another 4 units, and we're now up the new opportunities of working differently with some of our other supply partners, for example, Wiedmuller. It's enabled us to look at doing things differently, because we would normally have just gone ahead and replicated what we'd already got. But we're now been embracing their technology and delivery to reduce some of and improve and get more efficient. So there's been a lot of positives come from the lockdown in terms of being able to review how you operate and how you will operate in the future. So it hasn't all been a bad thing.
I think just to build on that as well, there's a lot of talk in Cumbria about diversification and exporting skills and bringing wealth into Cumbria. I think this remote working approach is really opening up doors to do that more effectively and for people to look beyond Cumbria for their business.
Yeah, couldn't agree
more.
more.
Definitely. I think the fact that James and Dick, their companies, have found this newfound collaboration during lockdown in different counties is just a sign of that. So great. We've had some really interesting conversation about COVID and how it's affected your companies, but we just want to talk about it, how it's affected you on a personal level. Ideally, we want you to come up with some fun answers for us. Is there anything that you've achieved, accomplished during lockdown? Have you found a new wine that you like? We want to hear everything how it's affected you personally at home. Anyone want to volunteer, or shall I pick on someone?
Maybe something that my husband achieved, which is a benefit to me. So my husband decided to start cooking during the lockdown, which means I now get regular meals cooked by him and I don't have to worry about it.
Great, that's always a bonus. What's the best thing he's cooked for you?
Roast dinner.
Can't beat a good roast dinner. What about you, Kirsten? Any new talents that have emerged?
Stick to the baking front. I've baked scones for the first time in my life. I'm not really a baker, but yes, starting to get into that.
I think a lot of people have discovered baking during lockdown. I've always liked baking, but you couldn't get flour at the start, so I sort of didn't go down that route. It wasn't one for me, to be honest. What about you, Dick? Anything new that you've done during lockdown?
Not specifically new, but I have taken to doing a 4 to 5 mile walk with my wife and the dog every evening, which has been really pleasant for Bolt, the Labrador. You can't see him, but he's lying behind me. I've exhumed by special magistrate's license the contents of my garage, which has been lurking there for 40 years. And in keeping with the adoption of new technology, we managed to put most of that on Facebook. And my goodness, it's surprising what does sell and what doesn't. We've been putting it on really easily affordable prices rather than take it to the local dump. So that's been really useful. And adopting new technology, I suppose, even like things like WhatsApp and Zoom, and it's all new to me, still is. We had 2 grandchildren appear in the period. And so that has been useful, particularly for my wife, to be able to see and feel them, because we get video updates every 5 minutes. I'm a bit sick of watching them, to be honest.
And have you been able to go and see them in person? Or?
Oh yeah, during the lockdown period, we're fortunate enough to live in the rural setting where we've got fields and everything else. So we had them appear in their cars in the fields, socially distanced on carpets and picnics. But it was torture for my wife because, you know, she wants to pick and feel.
Yeah.
But we're able to do that in a socially distanced and safe way. But the modern technology as well, it's here, ever present.
Yeah. I think a lot of people are saying they're seeing more of their families and friends. Well, they have seen more of them during lockdown just because it's so much easier to Skype or Zoom them. It's quite nice, really, that there are positives coming out of this situation. What about you, James? Is there anything that's not really been covered, or?
Yeah, well, I bought a mountain bike, like a lot. So yeah, I've started mountain biking quite a bit, which has been fun. And I've been growing a lot of fruit and veg, well, mostly veg in my garden. So I've been eating very well. So yeah, they're the 2 main things that I've been doing.
Brilliant. It definitely sounds like people will have a sort of pre-COVID and a post-COVID mindset about how you go about things, work schedules, how much time you see family, etc. And obviously exercise is a massive one. You know, most people you speak to have done more walking, whatever, biking. So good. And obviously back on the business side, it seems that there's also lasting changes that will be that everyone will be implementing in their strategy going forward, not least IT and the sort of power of that. Along with the diversity that it brings. So, but brilliant. But yeah, so just to sort of close and say thanks really for all joining. Obviously great to have 4 companies join us, all BECBC members, 2 partnerships formed. So I'm sure we'll hear more from you guys, you know, whether it's on some of the clusters e-meetings, you know, or 3x3 presentations. I'm sure we'll see more of you and hopefully see you again back in person at one of the meetings when they resume. But just sort of from me, Rhianna, just thank you for joining us today and wish you all the best going forward.
Thank you.